Most people want to believe in themselves, but don't know where to start. They wait to feel confident before taking action, but real belief comes from showing up daily and doing the small things that build strength from the inside out. This guide gives you 10 clear steps to grow your confidence, stay focused, and start doing things that actually matter to you. If you're tired of doubt and ready to take control, this is where change begins. Number 1. Embrace daily challenges to strengthen your personal confidence. Most people wake up in the morning and immediately reach for their phones. They scroll through emails, messages, and social media, feeding their minds with the lives and opinions of others before they've even taken a breath for themselves. From that moment, their direction is set not by their own thoughts or choices, but by reaction. This is where confidence quietly dies, not in one sudden moment, but in the small habit of letting the world lead you. To build true confidence, to believe in yourself in a way that shapes your actions and your results, you must learn to embrace the challenges of each day, not avoid them, not delay them, not wish them away. Face them, own them, grow from them, because every challenge you face is not a threat to your worth, it's an opportunity to reveal it. Confidence does not come from ease. It does not come from people telling you how great you are. It does not come from motivational quotes or temporary highs. Confidence is the earned result of experience. When you go through something difficult, when you face discomfort, when you take a step that scares you and do it anyway, something fundamental shifts in your mind. You no longer need to convince yourself you're capable. You know it. That knowing is confidence. But it starts with the decision to stop avoiding hard things. It begins when you decide that discomfort is not the enemy, but the path. When you stop running from the hard conversations, the unfamiliar responsibilities, the intimidating goals, when you stop pretending you're not ready and you step into what life places before you, you start building the kind of self-belief that doesn't fade when things get hard. It grows because you're not trying to impress anyone. You're not trying to appear strong. You're trying to become strong. And that is the only kind of confidence that lasts. Most people want to feel confident before they act, but that's not how it works. Action comes first. Confidence comes after. You act scared. You act uncertain. You take the first step when everything in you is telling you to wait. You try something new when your voice shakes. You accept the challenge when your mind is filled with doubts. And when you survive it, when you grow from it, you have something solid to stand on, not just hope. Not just theory, proof. That's what builds confidence. That's what transforms a person. Start small if you need to. You don't have to conquer everything in one day. You don't need to change your whole life by Friday. You just need to take one uncomfortable step every day. Pick one thing that makes you nervous, one thing you've been avoiding, one thing you don't feel ready for, and do it, even if you fail, especially if you fail, because real growth happens in the failure. That's where you meet your limits. That's where you learn to push them. That's where you begin to rewrite your identity from the inside out. The mistake most people make is believing that confidence is a personality trait, something you're either born with or you're not. That's not true. Confidence is a skill. It's something you build through repeated exposure to challenges. It's not reserved for the naturally gifted or the loudest in the room. It's built by those who show up every day and do the hard thing, quietly, consistently, relentlessly. If you choose that path, your confidence will become unshakable, not because you believe you'll always succeed, but because you know you can handle whatever happens. There will be days when it feels like too much, days when the fear is loud and the doubt is heavier than usual. That's not weakness. That's part of the process. Those are the days that test who you're becoming. When you push through anyway, when you do it even at half strength, you're building a foundation stronger than anything external. You're proving to yourself that your commitment is stronger than your emotion, that your purpose is bigger than your fear. Confidence isn't about always feeling good. It's about doing good even when you don't feel ready. It's about building trust with yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and follow through, you're casting a vote for the version of you that shows up, that doesn't quit, that keeps moving. Over time, those votes stack up. They become your identity. That identity becomes your belief system. And that belief system becomes the foundation for every goal, every challenge, every dream you decide to pursue. Here's what you can do, starting today. Choose discomfort on purpose. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting. Maybe it's starting that fitness plan. Maybe it's sending that message you've been afraid to send. Maybe it's saying no when you usually say yes to keep others happy. Pick the thing that makes your stomach turn a little, and then do it. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. The more you do this, the more you train your nervous system, your brain and your identity to believe in your own strength. Keep a log of your challenges. Every night, write down one thing you did that was hard or uncomfortable. Reflect on what you learned from it. Track how you handled it. Over time, this record becomes a reminder of how far you've come. It also becomes motivation for what you can handle tomorrow. Because when you look back and see all the hard things you faced, you start to realize just how capable you've become. Be mindful of your self-talk during challenges. Notice the words you speak to yourself when things get tough. If you constantly say, "I can't do this, this is too much," or "I'm not good at this," your mind will follow that path. Interrupt that pattern. Say instead, "This is hard, but I'm learning," or "I've done hard things before and I can do this." It may feel unnatural at first, but over time your internal language becomes your emotional compass. Speak with strength, even when you're scared. Surround yourself with others who embrace challenge. Confidence grows faster in supportive environments. Spend time with people who push themselves, who talk about growth, who act instead of complain. Their habits will influence yours. Their mindset will rub off. And most importantly, they will remind you that struggling doesn't mean failing, it means evolving. If you fail, own it. Don't run from it. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't make excuses. Look at it head on. Ask yourself what you learned. Ask yourself what you'll do differently next time. Then move. Keep moving. Resilience is born in the space between failure and the next attempt. The more you shorten that gap, the stronger you become. That's how you build confidence that doesn't crumble when life hits hard. Celebrate progress, not perfection. If you did something hard today, that's a win. If you pushed your limits even slightly, that matters. If you showed up and didn't quit, you've already succeeded. Too many people wait for the big breakthrough to feel proud. But confidence grows when you notice the small steps. That's how you build momentum, and momentum is what makes the next challenge just a little bit easier. Over time, the challenges you once feared will become normal. What felt impossible becomes part of your routine. That's growth, that's evolution. But it only happens when you stop waiting to feel ready and start showing up anyway. You don't need more time, you don't need more talent, you need more courage. And courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision that something matters more than fear. Every challenge you face is a vote for that decision. You're not going to feel motivated every day. You're not always going to feel brave or clear or strong. That's okay. Confidence doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. It requires you to show up when it's inconvenient, when you're tired, when you're unsure. That's what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. Not talent, not luck. Consistency in the face of discomfort. There will always be easier paths. There will always be the option to quit, to settle, to hide behind distractions. But if you want to believe in yourself in a way that changes your life, you have to be willing to do the hard things on purpose. Not once, not when it's convenient, every day. Because that is how you strengthen personal confidence, not as a concept, but as a way of living. Your future depends on the decisions you make today. And the most important decision you can make is this: choose the challenge. Whatever form it takes, mental, physical, emotional, run toward it. Don't wait to be fearless. Act while you're afraid. Don't wait to feel ready. Move before the doubt takes over. Don't wait for life to get easier. Train yourself to get stronger, because the life you want doesn't come from avoiding pain. It comes from using it, from learning through it. From becoming someone who doesn't just survive the hard moments, but is shaped by them into someone better, stronger, wiser. That's how confidence is built. And that's how cool things get done, by people who choose to do hard things daily, not because they have to, but because they know that's where the real growth is. You don't have to feel brave to start, you just have to start. And every time you do, every time you face a daily challenge head-on, you're proving to yourself that you are not someone who backs down. You're not someone who waits. You're someone who moves, who grows, who earns their confidence one hard moment at a time. That's the person you're becoming. And that person, they achieve cool things, not because they were lucky, but because they chose the challenge, every single day. Number 2. Define clear goals to direct your inner motivation. Most people move through life without a clear sense of direction. They wake up, Go through routines, take care of responsibilities, and repeat the cycle. They keep busy but feel disconnected, exhausted, and unsure of what it's all leading to. Without clear goals, even hard work feels empty. You can work all day, give all your energy, and still feel lost if you don't know what you're working toward. That's why defining goals is one of the most important decisions you will ever make. Not just vague hopes or general wishes, but specific, meaningful goals that give you something real to aim at. When you set a clear goal, your mind has something to focus on, your time starts to have meaning, your actions begin to align with something greater. That alignment builds momentum, and that momentum becomes motivation. People often wait for motivation before they commit to a goal, but motivation doesn't come first. Direction comes first. When your life has direction, when you know exactly what you're moving toward, motivation grows naturally. You don't need tricks or hype or external pressure. You're pulled forward by clarity. You wake up with a sense of purpose because you've given your energy a target. That's what real motivation feels like, not a temporary spark, but a deep inner drive rooted in knowing what matters most. The first step to building that drive is getting honest with yourself. What do you really want? Not what others expect from you, not what looks good on paper. What would make your life feel meaningful? What do you want to create, contribute, or experience in your lifetime? This question matters more than most people admit, because if you don't answer it, someone else will, society will, your past will, your fear will, and none of those forces care about your growth. Only you can take ownership of your future. That starts by defining a goal so clear that it wakes something up in you. Write it down, not in your head, on paper. Your mind is full of distractions, fears, comparisons, and old patterns. Writing forces clarity. Don't overthink it. Just ask yourself, what do I want to achieve in the next 12 months that would move my life forward in a powerful way? Be specific. Be bold. Don't shrink your goals to fit your current situation. Expand your effort to meet your highest vision. Whether it's a new career, a physical transformation, a financial target, or a creative pursuit, give it a name, a deadline, and a purpose. A goal without a deadline is just a wish. You need a timeline that challenges you, one that requires effort and focus. The pressure of a deadline helps you prioritize. It helps you say no to distractions and yes to growth. It helps you act today instead of waiting for a better moment that never comes. With a clear goal and a deadline, you start to feel urgency, not the kind that creates anxiety, but the kind that builds energy. You feel alive again because you're moving with purpose. Now break that goal into milestones. If your goal is 12 months away, decide what progress looks like at 6 months, 3 months, and 1 month. Then define what actions you'll take this week. The reason most people quit on their goals is not because they're lazy, it's because the goal feels too far away and too overwhelming. Milestones make it manageable. They help you see progress, and progress is the fuel of motivation. Even a small win today can change how you feel tomorrow. Every morning, remind yourself of your goal. Read it, visualize it, think about why it matters. Your brain needs repetition, it needs reminders. Without daily focus, the goal fades into the background and old habits take over. But when you bring your attention back to what you want, again and again, it starts to shape your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone who hopes for success. You become someone who is building it. That shift changes everything. You will face resistance. Doubts will come. Distractions will try to pull you away. That's not a sign to stop. That's a test of how much your goal matters to you. Use resistance as a signal that you're stepping into something important. Use distractions as a reminder to return your focus to what really counts. Every day you choose your goal over comfort, you're strengthening a habit that leads to achievement. Track your effort, not just your results. Sometimes progress is invisible for a while. You're building foundations that others can't see. You're developing discipline, patience, and grit. Those things matter just as much as the outcome. Keep a journal. Note what actions you took, what you learned, what you struggled with, and how you'll adjust. Self-awareness makes you powerful. It keeps you growing even when the results aren't instant. Don't compare your pace to anyone else's. Your path is yours. Your goal is yours. Comparison is a distraction that steals your energy. Focus on alignment instead. Are your actions aligned with your values? Is your time aligned with your priorities? Is your mindset aligned with your vision? When those things line up, you start to feel powerful. Not because everything is easy, but because everything makes sense. Share your goal with someone who supports your growth. Not someone who will doubt or discourage you, someone who wants to see you win. Accountability is fuel. It gives you another reason to stay on track. When you speak your goal out loud to someone who believes in you, you increase your chances of following through. You're no longer alone in your pursuit. You're seen. You're supported. That matters more than most people think. Make space in your schedule for your goal. Don't wait for free time. Create time. If it matters, it belongs in your calendar. Even 30 minutes a day can lead to transformation when it's focused and consistent. If your days are packed, wake up earlier. Say no to something that drains you. Simplify. Prioritize. Don't let the excuse of being busy stop you from building a life you actually want. When things go wrong, and they will, return to your goal. Don't abandon it. Don't assume you failed. Adjust. Learn. Restart. Goals are not about perfection, they're about direction. Every setback gives you a chance to refine your approach. Every obstacle builds character. If you stay connected to your reason why, nothing can stop you permanently. Detours are not dead ends unless you stop walking. Your goals shape who you become, not just by the results they bring, but by the discipline they require. The goal to get stronger forces you to build consistency. The goal to start a business forces you to develop courage. The goal to improve your relationships forces you to become more honest and present. When you pursue the right goals, they change you. That's the real reward. Don't wait for the perfect goal. Start with what you know matters. Start with something that excites you and scares you a little. That's when you start excite with the low passions you quite can chennai can chartle and start patient of power of paying pika I can hella fallen. Start with your gof to make. When that chai can charter quite take a strongy. Nightau, no pika strongy, Tom pika's tough to beacon said divnight so brom powerfuls is it strong. To one gets tough, those are not making valway stone I, but Tom pican panty strongy. Toffol it such condenses Tom power thinking tandicum picum panches Tom power picum You stop chasing approval and start chasing growth. You feel more in control, not because life is easy, but because your choices finally align with your vision. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being intentional. When you live with intention, even the hard days feel meaningful. Even the failures teach you something useful. You're no longer surviving life, you're designing it. You're no longer hoping for change, you're creating it. That's the difference between drifting and driving, between waiting and building, between existing and achieving. Set your goal, make it clear, make it bold, break it into steps, build daily discipline. Number 3, practice consistent positive self-talk each morning. The way you speak to yourself in the first few minutes of your morning can shape the quality of your entire day. Most people wake up and let their thoughts run wild. They remember what went wrong yesterday, they dread what might go wrong today, and they begin their day already in a mental fog of doubt, fear, and frustration. They don't realize that their inner dialogue is not just a background noise, it's a force that sets the tone for their behavior, mood, energy, and self-worth. If you want to build lasting confidence and motivation, it has to start with how you speak to yourself every morning. The world is full of opinions and challenges that you can't control, but the voice in your head, that's your responsibility, that's your power. Positive self-talk is not about fake praise or blind optimism. It's about replacing judgment with encouragement. It's about training your mind to recognize your strength before the day tries to convince you otherwise. Most people never stop to question their inner dialogue. They repeat the same harsh phrases in their head every day and wonder why their self-esteem doesn't grow. They say things like, "I'm not good enough, I always mess up," or "this won't work out for me." Those sentences, even if said quietly and quickly, carry weight. If they're repeated enough, they become beliefs, and those beliefs become your actions. The mind listens to the words you feed it. If you start your day with doubt, you begin the day on defense. You walk into challenges already believing that you're not capable, not worthy, not ready. That mindset is like dragging an anchor into every situation. But when you feed your mind strength, clarity, and encouragement, you shift into a state where effort becomes possible. You still face difficulties, but now you face them with a grounded sense of inner support. Your internal voice becomes a coach instead of a critic, and that changes everything. Every morning is a new chance to reset your internal script. The best time to practice positive self-talk is right after you wake up. Your brain is highly receptive during this time. What you say to yourself in those first moments has a stronger emotional impact because your conscious filters are still quiet. If you wake up and check your phone immediately, you give that moment away to noise and distraction. But if you pause, breathe, and speak to yourself with intention, you take back control of your inner world before the outer world even has a chance to influence it. Start with a few clear and empowering statements. Keep them simple and direct. I am capable. I am enough. I can handle today. I am focused on growth. Speak them out loud if you can. If not, say them mentally with presence and energy. You're not trying to convince yourself with emotionless repetition. You're creating new neurological connections. You're giving your brain a new path to follow. The more often you repeat these statements with sincerity and attention, the stronger those pathways become. Make this a ritual, not a random act. Positive self-talk works best when it becomes part of your routine. Just like brushing your teeth or getting dressed, it should be something you do without negotiation. The repetition is what builds the habit, and the habit is what builds the mindset. Consistency is the key. One great morning won't change your life, but a string of consistent mornings will begin to rewire your default thoughts. You'll notice that over time, the voice in your head starts to shift even without effort. Encouragement becomes your new baseline. Speak to yourself like someone you love. Think about the way you'd encourage a close friend or a younger version of yourself. Would you tell them they're not good enough? Would you remind them of all their past failures? Or would you speak to them with compassion, honesty, and belief? That's the tone you need to bring into your own self-talk. Not empty praise, but real belief in your ability to grow, adapt, and improve. Pay attention to the tone you use with yourself. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. If your self-talk is rushed, cold, or dismissive, it doesn't land. But if you speak with conviction, calm, and focus, your brain receives the message more deeply. Even if you don't fully believe it at first, that's okay. Belief grows through repetition and evidence. Keep showing up, keep speaking truth, and your confidence will catch up. One of the most powerful practices you can add to your morning is to combine positive self-talk with movement. As you get ready, as you walk, as you stretch, speak your affirmations. The body remembers what the mind repeats, and when the two are in sync, your internal dialogue gains power. When your physical state and your mental focus are aligned, your energy shifts into a higher level of readiness. You walk taller, you breathe deeper, you move with more presence. Your morning self-talk also becomes a mental shield. Life will throw challenges at you, disappointments, criticism, unexpected stress. But when your inner voice has already grounded you in confidence and clarity, those challenges don't shake you as much. You respond instead of reacting. You remember your worth instead of questioning it. And that response gives you an edge in every area of life. Don't expect perfection. Some mornings you'll wake up feeling tired, distracted, or off track. That's normal. The point isn't to always feel great, it's to stay committed to the practice. Even on the hard days, especially on the hard days, your positive self-talk matters most. It reminds you that your value isn't based on your mood or your performance. It's based on your decision to keep growing. That's what real self-respect looks like. Not perfection, but presence. If you struggle with believing your own words at first, start smaller. Say something true and build from there. I'm doing my best. I'm showing up. I'm willing to learn. As your trust in yourself grows, you can expand those statements into bigger declarations of strength and vision. The goal is not to trick yourself, it's to train yourself to recognize your own power, one sentence at a time. Don't underestimate the long-term impact of this practice. Most people want to change their lives, but ignore the daily thoughts that shape those lives. They chase external solutions while their internal dialogue keeps pulling them back. But if you change the way you speak to yourself, you begin to see yourself differently. You start to take actions you once avoided. You start to believe that change is possible, not because someone told you, but because your own voice now supports your growth. Eventually, this habit becomes so strong that even when you're challenged or criticized, your internal voice remains steady. That's the real benefit of consistent positive self-talk. It builds an inner foundation that doesn't crack under pressure. You begin to walk through the world with quiet strength, knowing that no matter what happens around you, the voice within you will lift you, guide you, and keep you grounded in your truth. So each morning, before the world tells you who to be, remind yourself who you are. Before stress shows up, strengthen your mind. Before anyone else speaks to you, speak to yourself with clarity and courage. Start with 1 minute, then stretch it to 5. Say what you need to hear, not just what sounds good, but what keeps you grounded, focused, and strong. Do it every day, and over time, that voice will become the strongest part of you. Number 4. Build small habits that reinforce your growing resilience. Resilience is not something that shows up when you need it if you've never built it. It doesn't suddenly appear when life gets hard if you've never trained your mind to stay grounded. It's built in the ordinary, in the quiet, in the routines that no one sees. Resilience grows when you stop waiting to be strong and start acting with strength in small ways every single day. It's not about making huge changes all at once. It's about stacking small, consistent choices that train your brain and your body to keep going, even when comfort tries to pull you back. When you build small habits that support your focus, discipline, and mindset, you create an internal system that makes it easier to recover from setbacks and show up with purpose again and again. Many people think resilience is just a mental thing, something you either have or don't have, but resilience is practical. It's something you can train by how you act, how you think, and how you respond. And one of the most effective ways to train it is by building habits that remind you who you want to be. A small habit might not feel life-changing in the moment, but over time it becomes a reflection of your identity. Every time you show up for yourself, even in a small way, you're proving to your mind that you're capable. That proof stacks up. It becomes a kind of evidence you can fall back on when doubt, fear, or stress tries to take over. Start small, not because you lack ambition, but because small wins are what build real momentum. Choose one thing you can do daily that reflects the person you want to become. Maybe it's writing 1 sentence in a journal, taking a 2-minute cold shower, going for a 5-minute walk, or drinking a full glass of water before anything else in the morning. These aren't just tasks. They're signals to your mind that you are someone who follows through. They show that you're willing to take responsibility for your growth, instead of waiting for a breakthrough to happen by chance. Every time you follow through, even when it's hard or inconvenient, you strengthen your belief in yourself. The mistake most people make is they try to start too big. They decide they want to change everything at once. They make a massive plan, set impossible goals, and then burn out within days. They don't realize that willpower is limited, especially at the beginning. What builds strength is repetition, not intensity. Small habits work because they're manageable, they're repeatable, and most importantly, they lower resistance. When something feels easy to start, you're more likely to do it, and when you do it often, it becomes part of your identity, and once a habit is part of your identity, it takes less mental energy to maintain. Another key to building resilience through habits is choosing actions that challenge you just enough to grow, but not so much that they overwhelm you. You want to live on the edge of your comfort zone. That's where growth happens. It could be waking up a little earlier than usual. It could be reading 10 pages of a challenging book each day. It could be making one uncomfortable phone call you've been avoiding. Each of these actions might not seem like much, but what they do is train your mind to lean into discomfort instead of retreating from it. And when you can do that daily, you develop a kind of mental toughness that makes setbacks feel smaller. Resilience also comes from structure. When you create daily systems, you remove decision fatigue. You don't have to ask yourself, should I do this? You've already decided. It's what you do. And when your day is built around a few powerful habits, you carry that structure into everything else. You become more reliable. You handle stress with more calm. You show up to challenges with more clarity. That's not luck. That's discipline, built over time by showing up when no one's watching. If you've ever tried to build habits and failed, that doesn't mean you're weak. It just means your approach needs refinement. One reason people give up is because they tie habits to motivation. They think they'll do the work if they feel inspired, but motivation is temporary. It comes and goes. The key is to create a system that works even when motivation disappears. Make your habits so small and simple that you don't need to feel ready to do them, and attach them to something you already do, like brushing your teeth or making coffee. That way your environment becomes a cue for the new behavior. Track your habits, not in a way that creates pressure, but in a way that reminds you of your progress. A simple check mark or a note in a notebook is enough. When you see that you've followed through, you get a small hit of pride. That pride reinforces the behavior. Over time, that small reward becomes motivation in itself. You start doing the habit not just for the result, but because you enjoy the process of showing up. That's the sweet spot when the habit becomes its own reason. Don't build habits just to feel productive. Build them to create a version of yourself that you trust. Resilience is trust. It's the ability to say, I've been through this before and I'm still standing. When life throws something hard your way, you can say, I know how to handle this, not because you've mastered every challenge, but because you've built daily evidence that you can keep going. Small habits are that evidence. They're the bricks that build a mental fortress. Each time you do something hard, even for a few minutes, you're adding to the structure. Be patient with the process. You won't feel different after one day. You might not even notice the change after a week. But if you stay with it, you'll look up after a month and realize that you've become someone more disciplined, more focused, and more calm under pressure. That's the result of consistency. And the beautiful part is that the more you build resilience, the easier it becomes to take on bigger challenges. You start with small habits, but those habits expand your capacity. They teach you that discomfort is not the enemy. Avoiding discomfort is what keeps you stuck. Facing it daily, even in small doses, is what creates freedom. If you ever feel like giving up on your habits, remind yourself why you started. You didn't start because it was easy. You started because you wanted to become stronger. You wanted to build a mind and a life that could withstand pressure. That purpose still matters, and even if you miss a day, it doesn't erase the work you've done. Get back on track without guilt. Guilt doesn't help. Action does. Resilience isn't about never falling. It's about getting up with more wisdom each time. The habits you build today will become the strength you rely on tomorrow. You don't have to wait for a crisis to start preparing. Start now. Choose a few small actions. Do them daily. Stay consistent, even when it's boring or hard. Trust the process. And remember, every time you choose to show up for yourself, you're telling your mind, I am the kind of person who doesn't quit. That belief is priceless. That belief is power. And it's available to you right now, one habit at a time. Number 5. Seek feedback regularly to accelerate your personal growth. Most people avoid feedback because it feels like criticism, but if you want to grow into someone stronger, sharper, and more self-aware, you have to look at feedback as a gift. It's not always wrapped in kindness or delivered in perfect timing, but inside it lies the truth you need to hear. Feedback gives you clarity about what's working and what's not. It shows you where your blind spots are and where your strengths might be underused. If you only listen to yourself, you'll keep repeating the same patterns and calling it effort. Real growth begins the moment you invite another perspective and learn to listen without defense. Seeking feedback regularly is not about asking for validation or approval. It's about being committed to becoming the best version of yourself, even if that means facing uncomfortable truths. When you actively seek out input from people you respect, you're saying that growth matters more than pride. You're showing that you're serious about progress, and when you take their insight seriously and apply it, you're multiplying your learning speed. What could take you years to figure out on your own could be shortened to days if you're open enough to receive guidance. Most people only receive feedback when something goes wrong, and even then they take it personally. But what if you flipped the entire idea? What if you trained yourself to seek feedback before it was needed, when things were going well, when there was no crisis to solve? You'd create a powerful loop of growth that keeps you improving while others stagnate. Growth doesn't require massive action all the time. It requires intentional reflection and course correction. And that happens fastest when you're brave enough to ask, what can I do better, even when things seem fine? You don't need a big group of people to give you feedback. You need a few people who care enough to tell you the truth and wise enough to see what you can't. Choose mentors, coaches, close friends, or even colleagues who are honest, experienced, and grounded. Ask them questions that open up real conversations. Don't just ask, how did I do? Ask, what would you improve if you were me? Or where do you see me holding myself back? When you ask with humility and genuine curiosity, people respond with deeper insight. But asking is only the beginning. What you do with the feedback is what matters. Some of what you hear might hurt. Your first reaction might be to defend yourself or explain. Don't. Sit with the feedback. Think it through. Ask yourself if there's truth in it, even if it's not delivered perfectly. Growth doesn't come from hearing what you want. It comes from facing what you need. If you only listen to compliments, you'll never grow past your comfort zone. The real transformation happens when you absorb the uncomfortable insight and choose to act on it with maturity. Feedback also accelerates your growth because it eliminates guesswork. You don't waste time wondering if you're doing the right thing or headed in the right direction. You get a clear view of what needs improvement and what's already strong. That kind of clarity creates speed. You stop spinning in circles and start moving with intention. Every tweak you make in response to feedback brings you closer to excellence. You're not trying harder randomly, you're improving strategically. It's also important to seek feedback on things that matter deeply to you, whether it's your communication, your discipline, your creativity, or your leadership. Ask people who see you in action. Ask for observations, not opinions. Ask for specifics, not general praise. You want to know what works, what's confusing, what feels inconsistent, and when you get that data, use it, apply it right away. The sooner you act, the more momentum you build. Don't just collect feedback like trophies, use it as a tool to sharpen your edge. Resilience grows when you stop taking feedback as a personal attack and start taking it as personal development. You can't improve what you don't see, and most of what's holding you back isn't visible from your own perspective. We all have patterns we can't notice, weaknesses we downplay, and habits we rationalize. Feedback exposes those things before they become permanent. It holds up a mirror and asks, is this really who you want to be? And if the answer is no, then change becomes possible. When you seek feedback regularly, you build a habit of humility. You stay grounded in the reality that you're always a student, no matter how far you've come. That humility becomes a superpower. People trust you more. They open up more. They feel safe giving you the truth because they know you won't react with ego or defensiveness. And the more truth you receive, the more refined your growth becomes. It's not about beating yourself up. It's about leveling yourself up. Make feedback a normal part of your routine. Build it into your week. After a project, ask for insight. After a conversation, ask what you could improve. After a decision, ask what someone else might have done differently. Don't wait for a big moment. Practice it daily, just like any other growth habit. Over time, you'll start to crave feedback because you'll see how much it accelerates your learning. You'll become less reactive and more curious. You'll stop fearing failure and start embracing improvement. Also, remember to reflect on the feedback privately. Write it down, think it through, ask yourself how it fits into your long-term goals, use it to spot patterns. If you keep hearing the same thing from different people, take it seriously. That repetition means it's real, and instead of feeling discouraged, feel grateful. You now have a clear path forward. You've removed one more obstacle between who you are and who you want to become. The more you seek feedback, the more you refine your vision of yourself. You stop guessing and start building. You replace assumptions with accuracy, and that kind of self-awareness is rare. Most people float through life hoping they're doing okay, but you don't have to live like that. You can choose to know, you can choose to ask, you can choose to grow on purpose. Feedback is not failure. Feedback is fuel. It lights the way forward. It clears confusion. It makes good work great, and it separates the committed from the casual. If you want to become exceptional, feedback is not optional. It's necessary. It's the bridge between effort and excellence. And every time you cross that bridge, you get closer to the person you were meant to be. Ask for it, listen to it, apply it, and then ask again. That's how you grow faster than you thought possible. Number 6. Visualize future successes to fuel your daily actions. Most people drift through life, reacting to what happens instead of creating what they want. They wake up, respond to problems, handle distractions, and repeat the same patterns, hoping something will eventually change. But real change doesn't begin in action alone. It begins in vision. If you can't see where you're going, you'll never move with purpose. Visualizing future successes is not a wishful exercise. It's a practical tool that rewires your mind, aligns your actions, and sharpens your discipline. When you wake up each day with a clear mental picture of what you're working toward, your decisions become more focused, your energy becomes more directed, and your motivation becomes more consistent. When you take the time to mentally rehearse the future you want to create, you're training your brain to believe it's possible. The mind doesn't distinguish between what's vividly imagined and what's actually experienced. When you close your eyes and clearly see yourself succeeding, crossing the finish line, leading the business, writing the book, changing your body, or speaking with confidence, your brain begins to build that version of you as a familiar reality. You're no longer just hoping for change, you're preparing for it, expecting it, and acting like someone who's already on the path. Visualization builds emotional certainty. Most people give up not because they lack skill, but because they lack belief. When your mind is filled with doubt, your actions become hesitant. But when you see yourself winning in advance, you begin to move with calm conviction. Visualizing future success plants the feeling of achievement into your nervous system. You feel what it's like to accomplish, to overcome, to break through, and that feeling pushes you through resistance, because now you're no longer chasing a theory, you're stepping into a future that already feels real. It's important to visualize with detail, not just vague hopes. Don't just say you want to succeed, see it. Picture yourself waking up with energy. Picture yourself handling stress with strength. See the conversation you want to have. See the environment you want to live in. Hear the words, feel the texture of the success, sense the emotional state. If you want to become a better communicator, visualize yourself speaking with clarity and calm presence. If you want to grow your income, see yourself making wise financial decisions. If you want better health, imagine yourself exercising consistently and eating with intention. This level of mental clarity makes success feel less distant and more doable. You also need to practice visualization daily. Once isn't enough. Your environment constantly pushes noise into your mind, distractions, fears, negativity, and limitations. That's why you need a consistent mental reset every morning. Before the world grabs your attention, you grab your vision. Take a few minutes to close your eyes and mentally step into your future. Remind yourself what it looks like. Let yourself feel the pride, the freedom, the peace, the power. When you begin your day with that energy, everything shifts. You don't waste time on things that don't matter. You don't hesitate in moments of challenge. You don't forget your purpose in moments of pressure. Visualization isn't magic, but it is powerful. It primes your behavior. If you see yourself succeeding every day, you'll start taking actions that match that picture. You'll say no to distractions that pull you away. You'll push through difficult moments with more resilience. You'll be able to delay gratification because you're anchored to something greater. Success stops feeling far away and starts feeling familiar. And what feels familiar becomes easier to step into. Use visualization to anchor your goals in your identity. When you see your future clearly and repeatedly, you stop identifying with your current limitations. You stop saying "I can't" or "I've never done that," because your mind is busy rehearsing who you're becoming. You start speaking differently, thinking differently, and moving differently, not because of hype, but because you've trained your brain to act from the future instead of reacting from the past. That's the power of mental rehearsal. You become the architect of your progress. Visualization also helps you handle failure more intelligently. When you rehearse success in your mind, you also become more emotionally prepared for obstacles. You've already seen yourself winning, so a setback doesn't shake you as much. Instead of questioning yourself, you adapt. Instead of doubting your path, you recenter on your vision. The future you're building becomes the lens through which you interpret problems. You don't see failure as the end. You see it as a detour, and because you know where you're going, you stay on course. You can take visualization even further by combining it with intention. Don't just imagine the result. Imagine the process. See yourself doing the work. See yourself showing up when it's inconvenient. Imagine yourself saying no to comfort and yes to effort. Feel the resistance and push through it mentally before it happens in real life. That way, when the moment comes, you're not caught off guard. You've already succeeded in your mind, and now it's time to bring it into action. To make visualization practical, create a simple routine. Choose a quiet moment every morning, even if it's just 5 minutes. Close your eyes and imagine one specific scene of your future success. Pick a scene that feels meaningful and possible. Breathe deeply and see it as clearly as you can. Feel it in your body. Hold that vision without rushing. Then open your eyes and begin your day like someone who's moving toward that outcome. This practice doesn't take long, but the impact builds. Day after day, you train your mind to stay focused on your future, not your fears. And you don't have to do this perfectly. Some days your vision might feel distant. Some days you'll feel tired or doubtful. That's okay. Keep visualizing anyway. The practice itself builds mental discipline. The more often you hold your future in your mind, the more powerfully it begins to shape your decisions. You're no longer just reacting to life. You're becoming someone who lives on purpose. Your brain is a prediction machine. It looks for evidence to match what it expects. If you feed it thoughts of uncertainty, it will find reasons to hesitate. If you feed it images of success, it will begin to look for paths forward. That's how you build momentum. That's how you take small daily actions that align with a much bigger vision. You're no longer waiting for motivation to show up. You're living from a mental image that moves you before the world does. This is how high performers operate. They don't rely on willpower alone. They see the win before they begin. They rehearse the victory before it's visible, and that clarity gives them emotional energy that average people don't have. They're not chasing success out of desperation. They're stepping into it with direction. Their mindset is trained, focused, and wired for the long term. That's what visualization builds in you. The most powerful part is that visualization doesn't require talent or money. It only requires a choice. A decision to think beyond your current reality, a decision to hold the image of who you want to be and revisit it daily. And as you do, you'll begin to notice your behavior change, your standards rise, your focus sharpens, you'll walk into your day with purpose instead of confusion, you'll move with consistency instead of chaos, and little by little, your actions will begin to match your vision. You don't need to figure everything out today, you just need to start seeing it more clearly. Use the power of your mind to build the future you want, and then use the strength of your actions to bring it to life. Each morning is a new chance to return to your vision and take another step forward, and the more you do that, the more real your future becomes.
Number 7. Challenge. Limiting beliefs to unlock your hidden potential. Most people live with invisible walls around their potential. These walls are not built by others. They are formed by beliefs quietly picked up over time, often without realizing it. A limiting belief is any thought that convinces you you're not capable of doing something meaningful. It sounds like, "I'm not good at that," or "that's just not me," or "people like me don't do things like that." These thoughts don't sound dramatic or cruel. They feel normal. That's why they're dangerous. They feel like truth, but they are not facts. They are mental rules built from past experiences, painful moments, or things people once told you when you didn't know better. To unlock your potential, you must first identify the thoughts that are holding you back. This is not about being positive all the time. It's about being honest. Ask yourself what you believe about your own ability. Do you think you're capable of starting over, learning new things, leading others, or handling hard times? Do you see yourself as someone who rises or someone who stays the same? The answers matter more than most people realize. Because if deep down you don't believe you can grow, you won't even try. You'll settle for what's safe. You'll avoid anything that risks failure. You'll talk yourself out of effort before it even begins. Limiting beliefs usually come from two places. Either they were given to you by others, or they were formed through painful events. Maybe someone told you that you were too quiet or too slow or too different. Maybe you failed at something important once, and you decided that was who you were. These moments create emotional imprints that quietly shape your identity. But the good news is that identity is not fixed. You are not who you were. You are who you are becoming, and what you choose to believe now will shape that path more than anything in your past ever could. To challenge a limiting belief, you must first become aware of it.
You can't fix what you don't notice. Pay attention to your self-talk when you face something uncomfortable. Notice the thoughts that show up when you're about to stretch yourself. If your first instinct is to say, "I can't do that," ask why. What are you afraid of? What belief is shaping that fear? Don't run from it. Observe it. Get curious. Many of these beliefs fall apart when looked at closely. You realize you've been living by outdated rules that no longer serve you. Once you've identified a limiting belief, replace it with a more empowering one. This isn't fake positivity, it's accurate thinking. If your belief is, "I always mess things up," replace it with, "I've made mistakes but I can learn from them." If your belief is, "I'm not a confident person," change it to, "I can become more confident by practicing courage." These statements are not just words, they are mental openings. They give your brain permission to grow instead of freeze. You're not pretending, you're choosing to view yourself as capable, adaptable, and responsible for what happens next. Every time you act in defiance of a limiting belief, you weaken its power. Action is what rewrites the brain. When you do the thing you thought you couldn't, even if it's small, you create new evidence. Your brain begins to say, "Maybe that old belief was wrong." This is how change begins, not in a moment of perfect clarity, but in a series of small choices where you prove to yourself that you're more than you thought. You build confidence by doing things that used to intimidate you. You build strength by refusing to let doubt define your decisions. Resisting a limiting belief takes awareness, effort, and courage. It's easier to stay where you are. It's comfortable to repeat what's familiar, even if it limits you, but comfort and growth rarely live in the same place. If you want to grow, you must be willing to feel the discomfort of challenging what you used to believe. You have to be honest about the ways you've been holding yourself back. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. Everyone has beliefs they picked up that no longer serve them. Growth begins when you stop defending them. Start keeping track of your triggers. Notice when you avoid action or shrink back in conversations or say no to opportunities without real reason. In those moments, there's usually a belief hiding underneath. Write it down, then challenge it directly. Ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Is it always true? Is there anyone like me who has done what I want to do? The answers will often surprise you. You'll begin to see that the belief is not permanent. It's just a habit of thought, and like all habits, it can be replaced. Visualization can also help you challenge beliefs. If you close your eyes and see yourself acting with boldness, speaking with clarity, or leading with strength, you train your brain to expect that version of you. The more vividly you rehearse success, the less room there is for doubt to live in your mind. You start showing up like someone who expects to improve, instead of someone who's afraid of staying stuck. This mental practice builds new expectations, and expectations are powerful. They shape your perception, which shapes your actions. Surrounding yourself with people who believe in growth can speed up the process. When you spend time with people who refuse to let limiting beliefs define them, their mindset rubs off on you. You hear them speak differently. You watch them try new things. You see them take responsibility for their choices, and something in you shifts. You start to think, if they can grow, maybe I can too. This is why community matters. The people around you either feed your fears or stretch your vision. Choose wisely. You don't have to conquer every belief in one day. Start with one. Find one belief that has been quietly limiting your life. Maybe it's about your intelligence, or your worth, or your future. Identify it. Write it down. Then commit to proving it wrong, one action at a time. Each time you do, your identity shifts. You stop being someone who lives by fear, and you become someone who lives by choice. You take back control. You become the kind of person who grows on purpose. Believing in yourself is not about ego. It's about accuracy. It's about choosing to see the potential that has always been inside you, and deciding to live from that place. You're not broken. You're not stuck. You're not defined by who you used to be. You are capable of more than you've been told, more than you've believed, more than you've seen so far, and that potential will only be revealed when you have the courage to question the thoughts that say otherwise. There is no shortcut to personal transformation. There is only awareness, truth, effort, and consistency, but the reward is worth everything. You start living a life that's not based on fear or the past. You start stepping into possibility, even when it feels uncertain. And that's where your power lives, not in perfection, but in progress, not in being fearless, but in refusing to be controlled by fear. That is how you unlock potential that's been buried beneath years of doubt. You stop accepting your limits, and you start living your truth. Number 8. Celebrate small victories to maintain your ongoing momentum. Most people wait until the finish line to feel proud of themselves, but that approach only leads to burnout, frustration, and feeling like you're never doing enough. What truly keeps you moving forward isn't the final goal, it's the energy you build along the way. That energy doesn't come from pressure or punishment, it comes from recognizing that every step you take matters. Momentum is not a result of grand success. It's a result of noticing progress, no matter how small, and treating that progress as meaningful. When you celebrate small victories, you tell your brain that effort is valuable. You create a positive feedback loop that encourages consistency, and consistency is where real growth lives. People often underestimate the power of small wins. They think unless they've had a life-changing breakthrough or achieved something big, they shouldn't feel proud. But that's a mindset that drains motivation. Progress is made in tiny steps. The workout you didn't want to do but did anyway, the conversation you handled better than the last time, the moment you kept your word to yourself. These actions are often invisible to others, but they build a powerful foundation of self-trust. When you acknowledge them, you give yourself fuel, you remind yourself that change is happening, you prove to yourself that you're capable, and that proof becomes the reason you keep going. Momentum is emotional as much as it is practical. You can be doing the right things on paper, but feel completely discouraged if you don't stop to notice your improvement. Motivation dies when progress goes unrecognized. That's why celebrating your wins, no matter how small, matters so much. It keeps your spirit engaged. It keeps your focus sharp. It reminds you that every choice you make is shaping something better. You're not waiting for a trophy. You're building belief in yourself, one action at a time. Celebrating small victories doesn't mean bragging or pretending you've arrived. It means intentionally pausing to reflect on the fact that you followed through. It means giving yourself credit for doing something that supports your values, goals, or growth. This could be as simple as journaling a quick win at the end of your day, saying out loud what you're proud of, or even taking a moment to smile at your own progress. These tiny celebrations add up. They train your brain to associate growth with joy, not pressure, and when progress feels rewarding, you want to keep making it. People often skip this part because they're afraid of getting comfortable or becoming complacent. But the truth is, honoring your progress doesn't slow you down, it energizes you. You're not saying you're done, you're saying you're on the way, and being on the way is something worth recognizing. You don't have to wait until everything's perfect to feel good about your effort. You can appreciate the current step while still aiming higher. In fact, doing so increases your resilience. It gives you emotional stamina to keep going when results take time. If you're working toward a meaningful goal, you're going to face days where progress feels invisible. On those days, your mind will try to convince you that you're stuck or that nothing is changing. That's when celebrating small wins becomes even more important. It's a counterattack against self-doubt. It's a reminder that you've done something today that your old self might have avoided. Maybe you showed up with more patience. Maybe you made a better decision. Maybe you resisted a distraction. All of these are signs that you're evolving. You're choosing effort over ease, direction over distraction, purpose over passivity. That's victory. To make this practical, build a habit of reviewing your day and naming one win. It doesn't need to be dramatic, just real. Did you keep a promise to yourself? Did you improve even slightly? Did you handle something better than you used to? Write it down, speak it out, share it with someone you trust. When you stack these moments day after day, you start to feel unstoppable, because momentum isn't some mysterious force. It's the result of repeatedly proving to yourself that change is possible. And every time you recognize a win, you strengthen that belief. Avoid the trap of minimizing your effort just because others seem further ahead. Comparison steals your joy and blinds you to your progress. Your journey is your own, and your small victories matter just as much as someone else's big ones. What looks small from the outside might represent a massive internal shift. Maybe you had the courage to say no when you used to people please. Maybe you stayed consistent when you used to give up. Maybe you chose kindness when frustration tried to take over. Those are not small things, they're foundational, and they deserve recognition. Celebrating your growth helps you build a stronger identity. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who's trying, you start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. That shift in identity changes the way you show up. You stop questioning your ability, and you start acting like someone who trusts their process. You stop chasing perfection, and you start honoring progress. That mindset is not only healthier, it's far more effective. You become resilient, not by being hard on yourself, but by encouraging yourself forward. You can also use small celebrations to build momentum in areas that feel challenging. For example, if you struggle with discipline, reward yourself every time you complete a task you used to avoid. If you struggle with self-doubt, take note every time you speak up or assert yourself. These small affirmations are like deposits in your confidence account. They accumulate over time, and soon you start operating from a place of belief instead of fear. It's not magic, it's repetition, and it works when you commit to it. The world moves fast, and it's easy to miss your own growth. That's why this practice must be intentional. You can't rely on motivation alone. Motivation fades. What stays is your ability to encourage yourself when no one's watching. That's real power, the kind of power that doesn't depend on praise or results or outside approval. It comes from within. It comes from building a habit of acknowledgement. It comes from deciding that your effort matters even if no one else notices it yet. Because the truth is, most of your growth will be quiet. It will happen when you're alone. It will happen in moments of choice. And if you don't honor those moments, you'll always feel like you're behind. Don't wait for the big finish to feel proud. Don't make your self-respect conditional on a perfect result. Start now. Start where you are. Start by recognizing that the step you took today was meaningful. Maybe you weren't at your best. Maybe you didn't do everything right. But you tried. You showed up. You grew. And that matters. When you string together 100 of those days, you'll look back and see that you didn't just make progress, you changed. You became the kind of person who honors their journey, trusts their effort, and keeps going even when it's hard. Your momentum lives in the way you talk to yourself about your actions. Build it by focusing on progress, not perfection. Fuel it by noticing the things you used to avoid but now confront. Strengthen it by pausing long enough to say, "That was a win." Because it was. And when you learn to live this way with intention, awareness, and celebration, you'll find that motivation isn't something you need to chase. It becomes something you carry.
Number 9. Connect with mentors to expand your knowledge and courage. Trying to grow alone can become a lonely and confusing path. You might work hard and stay committed, but without guidance, the road ahead feels uncertain. That's why mentors matter. A mentor is not someone who gives you all the answers. A mentor is someone who's walked a few steps ahead of you and is willing to share what they've learned so you can grow with more clarity and strength. They're not perfect, but they've earned their wisdom through experience, trial, and learning. And when you connect with the right mentors, you expand not only what you know, but who you believe you can become. Mentors show you what's possible. When you spend time around people who have already overcome obstacles you're currently facing, their presence changes how you see your own potential. They carry a kind of evidence, proof that it's possible to rise, to improve, to become more. And that kind of proximity fuels courage. It helps you stop doubting your future and start acting with belief. You're no longer operating in isolation. You're learning from lived experience. You're borrowing confidence until yours gets stronger. And that changes everything. One of the most powerful things about a mentor is how they shift your mindset. They won't let you stay small. They'll challenge your assumptions, interrupt your limiting beliefs, and hold you to a higher standard. Not because they want to pressure you, but because they see something in you that you haven't fully claimed yet. A good mentor won't flatter you. They'll tell you the truth. They'll help you see where you're holding back, where you're avoiding effort, where you're letting fear make decisions for you. That kind of honest reflection is priceless. It speeds up your growth. It pushes you to act with more discipline, more clarity, and more courage. When you find the right mentor, you don't just learn new strategies. You learn how to think. You begin to understand the difference between reacting and responding, between trying and training, between staying busy and building wisely. A mentor gives you perspective. They remind you to stay focused on the long game. They help you separate what's urgent from what's important. And in a world that constantly pulls your attention in 100 directions, that kind of clarity is rare. It helps you move forward with direction instead of just motion. You don't need to find someone famous to be your mentor. You don't need someone with a huge following or a perfect resume. What you need is someone with integrity, experience, and a willingness to share. This could be a teacher, a coach, a leader in your community, or someone whose values you respect and admire.
Look for people who live what they teach. Look for people whose actions align with their words. You're not looking for a superhero. You're looking for someone real, someone who remembers what it's like to be where you are and who cares enough to help you move forward. And when you find them, show up with humility. Ask questions. Listen more than you speak. Don't waste time trying to impress them. Learn from them. Absorb their mindset, their habits, their discipline. Pay attention to how they solve problems, how they handle setbacks, how they stay focused. These small observations can shape your own habits in powerful ways. Learning is not just about taking notes, it's about transforming the way you think, and that transformation starts with deep observation. Don't just wait for a mentor to show up. Be intentional. Reach out to people who inspire you. Ask for a conversation. Let them know you value their experience and would love to learn from them. Some will say no. That's okay. Keep reaching. The right ones will respond. And when they do, honor their time by being committed, curious and consistent. Take what they give you and apply it. Show them through your actions that you're serious about your growth. Mentorship is not about getting handouts. It's about earning insight through respect, effort, and openness. A good mentor will challenge you to face what you've been avoiding. Maybe you've been afraid to take a risk, or too comfortable staying the same, or unsure how to start. They'll help you break those patterns. They'll offer strategies that you can use immediately. They'll give you feedback that might sting, but that feedback is where your transformation begins. You can't grow if you only listen to comfort. Real growth requires tension, the kind of tension that stretches you out of your excuses and into your potential. And don't just stop at one mentor. As you grow, different mentors will serve different roles. One might help you build confidence. Another might teach you how to lead. Another might challenge your mindset or help you master a specific skill. Stay open to evolving your mentorship relationships as you evolve. Growth is not linear, it's layered, and the more wisdom you expose yourself to, the more adaptable and grounded you become. Mentorship isn't just about getting answers, it's about being reminded that you are not alone, that someone sees you, that someone believes in your ability to rise, that someone has your back. Not by doing the work for you, but by encouraging you to take ownership of your path. That kind of belief changes how you show up. It lifts your standards. It increases your consistency. It helps you stay focused when distractions come, and distractions will come. But with the right people in your corner, you'll stay anchored in your purpose. Remember that mentorship is a relationship. It's not a transaction. Don't approach it with entitlement. Approach it with gratitude. Bring value. Share your progress. Ask thoughtful questions. Let your growth be the thank you. And one day, as you evolve, you'll find yourself in a position to mentor someone else. When that happens, do it with the same honesty and care that someone gave to you. That's how we grow, by learning, by applying, and by eventually passing it on. If you've never had a mentor, start by asking yourself what areas of life you want to improve. Where are you stuck? What do you wish you understood better? Who do you know that has overcome something similar? Who consistently shows up with character and wisdom? Start with admiration and then move toward connection. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity. Create it. Growth begins when you stop trying to figure everything out alone and start learning from those who've already made the journey. If you've had mentors before but drifted away, reach back out. Reignite the conversation. Share how you've grown. Ask for new insight. Growth is a lifelong process, and the people who help shape us at one stage might still have more to teach us later. Keep your learning relationships alive. They're part of your foundation. They remind you where you came from. They strengthen where you're going. You don't have to navigate your journey alone. You were never meant to. Wisdom is passed down through people who care enough to share it. Don't overlook that. Don't isolate yourself in silence or pride. Find mentors. Learn from them. Apply what you learn. Build a network of wisdom and support. That's how you grow stronger. That's how you make better decisions. That's how you rise with courage instead of fear. That's how you expand not just your knowledge, but your belief in who you can become. Number 10. Commit to daily reflection to sustain your self-belief. Most people move through life reacting. They jump from one task to the next, from one emotion to the next, from one problem to the next, without ever pausing to understand why they're doing what they're doing or how it's shaping who they're becoming. That's where so many lose their inner foundation. Without taking time each day to look inward and evaluate what's really happening beneath the surface, it becomes easy to drift, to lose sight of what matters, and to let self-doubt grow louder than self-belief. Daily reflection is not just a ritual, it's a powerful way to keep yourself grounded in your truth, aligned with your values, and focused on what matters most. It's how you stay connected to the best version of yourself, even when life gets loud or overwhelming. Committing to daily reflection gives you something that nothing else can: clarity. It strips away the noise and lets you hear your own voice again. When you sit down in silence, even for just a few minutes, and ask yourself real questions, you start to see yourself more honestly. You notice your patterns, you catch the lies your fear has been whispering, you confront the things you've been avoiding, and you remember what you're truly capable of. You don't have to fix everything in one moment, but when you make space to think, to evaluate, and to learn from your own experience, you start to live with more purpose. Reflection isn't about judgment. It's not about beating yourself up for what you didn't do. It's about learning. It's about noticing what worked and what didn't. It's about being honest without being harsh. You ask yourself, what did I do today that I'm proud of? What challenged me? And how did I respond? Where did I act from fear instead of strength? What can I improve tomorrow? These questions aren't meant to make you feel guilty. They're meant to bring your awareness into focus so you can make better decisions, not based on impulse, but based on intention. The truth is, confidence isn't built all at once. It grows in quiet moments. It grows when you look back and realize how far you've come, when you see your own resilience in the story of your day, and when you decide that no matter how messy things get, you are not giving up on yourself. That kind of self-belief isn't loud or showy, it's steady. It comes from the quiet strength of someone who is learning from their experience and choosing to get better on purpose. That's what reflection helps you build, an unshakable belief rooted in personal truth. It doesn't take hours. You don't need the perfect setting or a complicated journal. You just need the willingness to sit with yourself and pay attention. You can do this in the morning before the day starts, or in the evening before you sleep. You can write your thoughts down or speak them out loud. You can ask yourself simple questions and answer them honestly. What matters is that you do it consistently. Daily reflection is like a mirror. It helps you see what's real. And when you know what's real, you can build on it with confidence. There will be days when you don't feel like doing it. Days when you're tired or distracted or frustrated. But that's exactly when it matters most. Because reflection isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Showing up for yourself, even when you're not at your best, teaches you self-respect. It reminds you that your growth is not dependent on how you feel in the moment. It's dependent on your decision to stay aware, to stay honest, and to keep learning. That discipline, quiet, steady, and personal, is what creates real belief over time. Reflection also helps you catch the negative patterns before they take root. If you notice that you've been talking down to yourself, if you've been letting fear drive your choices, or if you've been slipping into habits that pull you away from your values, reflection gives you the chance to course correct. Not with shame, but with clarity. You don't have to let a bad day become a bad week. You don't have to let mistakes define you. When you reflect, you interrupt those cycles. You say to yourself, I see what's happening, and I choose something better. That's how you grow from your experience instead of being trapped by it. Another powerful benefit of reflection is gratitude. When you pause each day and look back on what went well, even in the smallest ways, you train your mind to see progress instead of problems. You begin to appreciate your effort. You recognize your own strength. You give yourself credit for showing up, for trying, for choosing growth. That sense of gratitude isn't just a nice feeling, it's a powerful fuel for motivation. When you see yourself through a lens of growth and resilience, you're more likely to keep going, even when it's hard. You start to believe that your effort matters, that your journey is meaningful, and that you're capable of becoming someone even stronger. Daily reflection also deepens your self-trust. The more often you look inward and evaluate your own choices, the more you learn to rely on your judgment. You stop seeking approval from others to validate your path. You begin to trust your own voice. You start to believe that you know what's right for you, not because someone told you, but because you've taken the time to understand yourself. That kind of inner knowing is rare in a world that constantly pushes you to look outside for answers. But it's that exact inner clarity that allows you to live with conviction and calm confidence. The key is consistency. Like anything worthwhile, the power of reflection builds over time. You won't always have deep insights every day. Some days you'll write or think for just a few minutes and feel like nothing happened, but the act itself is the investment. Every time you reflect, you're reinforcing a habit of awareness. You're telling yourself, I care enough about my life to pause, to pay attention, and to improve. Over time, those small moments of attention stack up. They shape your mindset. They deepen your awareness. They build your belief. If you want to take it a step further, start recording your reflections. Keep a notebook or a digital file where you write your thoughts. It doesn't have to be polished, just real. Over time, you'll begin to notice patterns. You'll see the lessons you've learned. You'll notice how your responses change, and you'll witness your own growth in black and white. That kind of evidence reinforces your progress. It reminds you, especially on the hard days, that you've already overcome things you once thought you couldn't. And if you've done it before, you can do it again. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be honest. That's the heart of reflection, honesty with yourself. Not to shame, but to understand. Not to regret, but to grow. Every person who lives with purpose makes time for this kind of reflection. They understand that if you're too busy to think, you're too busy to grow. Don't let life move so fast that you forget to look at who you're becoming. Pause, pay attention, ask questions, and let the answers shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more grounded. Self-belief is not something you find, it's something you build, and you build it one decision, one action, one reflection at a time. When you commit to daily reflection, you're making a powerful statement. You're saying, my life matters enough to look at, my growth matters enough to focus on, my future matters enough to plan for, and I believe in myself enough to keep learning, no matter how far I've come or how far I have to go. That belief, quiet, steady, and earned, becomes the foundation you stand on when life tests you. It becomes the anchor that holds you when doubt comes. And it becomes the fire that pushes you to keep growing, keep improving, and keep becoming who you were always meant to be.